Morning, elementary. This is Mr. T. We're going to do some decimal fractions work with you third years. So get your pencil and paper out, get your math brain clicking, and let's go and do some mental math, some decimal fractions. So I talked to you the last time about decimal fractions. And let's go back and review a little bit of what we saw. Let's read that number. 1 whole and decimal 6, that's the tenth place. 1 whole and 6 tenths. So we say and read it 1 whole 6 tenths. Two and 65 hundredths. This is the hundredths place. 2 and 65 hundredths. Whoa, really getting out there in the decimal fraction place values, aren't we? 3 and 657 thousandths is how you read that number. So this 7 thousandths is a really small number. If you take a whole and cut it into 1,000 pieces, 7 of them is how much we got here. Very small. This is 5 hundredths. If we take a whole and cut it into 100 pieces, we've got 5 of them. So hundredths are a lot bigger than thousandths. They're 10 times bigger, actually. This is the tenths place value, 6 tenths. So if we take a whole, and we do this with our fraction inserts back at school, don't we? If we take a whole and divide it into 10 pieces, we've got 6 of them. And each of those tenths is pretty big. And 6 tenths is getting pretty close to being a whole, isn't it? It's more than a half of a whole, which would be 5 tenths. So I want to just go back and kind of give you that basic review of our decimal fractions and how they work. Because what I'm sending you now is going to be decimal fractions worksheet 11. I'm skipping you up. And I'm confident you guys can do it, but it's going to take some thinking because it's complicated. So let me show you what you need to do with these, decimal fractions worksheet 11. It's a rounding exercise, which means we need to find about what these numbers are. So here's the first one. Read that, 586 thousandths. And the worksheet tells me to round it to the nearest tenths place. Well, let's look at that. I have 6 in the thousandths place. Can I round the 8th in the tenths place? Sure, because 6 thousandths is close to 100th. So that 6 goes away, becomes a 0. The 8 hundredths becomes 9. Well, I've got 9 hundredths. 9 hundredths is close to 1/10. So I can round that 5 tenths up to 6 tenths. That goes away to 0 because I'm rounding to the tenths place. So if I round 586 thousandths to the 10th place, my answer is about 6 tenths. Rounding decimal fractions. Well, let's throw a whole number in there, okay? A mixed number. 4 and 111 thousandths. And my worksheet problem asked me to round that to the nearest whole place. 1,000ths can't be rounded up. 1100ths can't be rounded up. 1/10 can't be rounded up. So all of those go away to zero if we're rounding to the whole number place. So 4 and 111,000ths rounds to 4. I could put a decimal 0 there, but do I need 0 if I have 0 decimal place values? No. So rounding to the nearest whole number gives me 4. Now on all of these guys, you can freeze the video, go back and look at it, think about the work that you did, okay? And use it for review when you're working on your worksheet. So you can always go back to Mr. T's lessons and check it out and see, because I'm going to usually give you one of every kind of problem that you're going to have on the worksheet, even though they're going to be tricky and some of them more complicated. But that's where your brain comes in. And I'm also going to send you the control sheet so that you guys can check your own work, which you need to do before you take it to your mom and dad. Because when you're checking your own work and you find mistakes and you see how you made the mistake, that's when you learn, okay? We need to make mistakes to learn new stuff. So here we go. So let's round to the nearest 100th place. Five and 214,000ths. We asked to round it to the 100th place. That's the 100th place right there. 4,000ths. Is that close to 100? Nope, it's less. So that 4 goes away to 0, and the 100 doesn't change. And so if my challenge was to round 5 and 214,000ths to the nearest 100th place, then I've done it. It's 5 and 21/100ths. So rounding just means that you have to get your place value higher than half of the nearest place value. If it's 5 or greater, then you round it up. If it's less than 5, it goes to 0 and goes away if you're rounding to the next highest place value. So that's decimals from Mr. T, coming to you with the worksheet and the control sheet. So you do that whenever you have a chance, and you can always come back and review Mr. T's lesson whenever you need it. Mr. T in Leesburg. Hope you guys have a great week. Out.